the show.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Cannabis Corner on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. We are streaming live on TuneIn Radio and NewHavenIndependent.org. We're also streaming live video on Facebook and YouTube. Just go to your Facebook page and look us up, or hit see first to see and hear all the great programs that we have here on WNHHLP. And just a reminder, Cannabis Corner is also streaming live on the Greenhaven Media Facebook page and ProCannabisMedia.com. Welcome, everybody. It is Monday, June 23rd, 2025. I'm your host, Joe LaChance, Joe the Weed Guy. I am flying solo today. Uncle Luke cannot make it. He is dealing with dispensary business and working hard to get his cultivation facility open so that we can have some decent medicine here in the Connecticut adult use program. So whatever it takes to get that happen, I can handle it for now. But anyway, welcome everyone. I wanted to start today off with a little a memorial for we lost a big soldier, a huge soldier, a pioneer in the cannabis industry in New England, not only New England, nationwide. Bill Downing unfortunately passed away over the weekend. And for those of you who don't know, he's 69 years old. Bill Downing was an old school activist and educator from way back, long before legalization, long before medical. You know, he's one of the pioneers in the New England industry who really was always willing to stick his neck out and push the envelope. Bill Downing was not a person he was not afraid to get arrested for the cause. Let's just put it that way. And I remember when the Massachusetts medical bill first came in, Bill Downing got in a little bit of trouble because he was kind of pushing the boundaries of what caregivers could be and do. But the point was the law itself was flawed. He used that to help people to be able to supply them with medicine. And this was when Massachusetts had made their program medical. They had nothing opened. They had no dispensaries, nothing open. You still were having to go to the legacy market to get your medicine. And Bill Downing saw that, and he actually picked up quite a few patients, and he was giving them not only cannabis, CBD. He was really big into CBD products and the healing benefits because they had worked in his own life. And I know Bill had some health problems. I mean, him and I worked together. He was actually, I got to say, one of the founding people of NIC, the Northeastern Institute of Cannabis, which for those of you who don't know was, really groundbreaking school that myself, Cara Crab Burnham, Mickey Martin, Keith Saunders, and a slew of other now very influential people up in the cannabis industry started actually a freestanding, brick and mortar cannabis school. And it was very successful. It proved that there was a need, and it took a couple of years, but we actually were looking to turn a profit in our last year. And Bill Downing was really, I got to say, like the rock steady instructor, because not only was he an instructor, he helped design the original curriculum. He was one of those guys that no matter what you needed, he could fill it in. So no matter what class I had, and we had tons of different classes up there. We had cultivation, we had the cannabis history, we had cannabis science, we had medical marijuana, we had bud tending, we had all various aspects of the industry. And any class that you needed, if a teacher called out sick, or if there was, anything that you needed, Bill Downing could fill in. He could teach any class. He was that well versed. And I got to say, the majority of what I learned in the cannabis industry, as far as knowledge and actually activism as well, I learned from Bill Downing. Him and I used to share an office together. We used to hang out a lot during classes or after classes or before classes and take our safety breaks. And he really would just give me all kinds of information about, hit the history of the plant and activism. And he just was a wealth of knowledge. And I got to say, I over 60% of what I know now in the cannabis industry, I learned from Bill Downing or one of his students. And we really lost a real pioneer today, a real good person. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Bill wherever you are. Thank you for everything that you did in the cannabis industry. And I know that your legacy will live on in the people that you instructed and the people that you talked, that you just talked to. People like me, people like Kara, anybody who went through the NIC, the Northeastern Institute of Cannabis, who are now a lot of people who are players in the industry will be carrying on your legacy, Bill. And it's very heartening to see on social media the amount of you know outpourings of the feelings for Bill, and it really warms my heart, and so please, if you can, light up a joint today at 4:20 in honor of the late great Bill Downing. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for him, honestly. We wouldn't have legal cannabis in Massachusetts, which then would not have trickled down to Connecticut, et cetera, if it weren't for Bill Downing. And a lot of people owe their careers to him, and myself being one of them, at least the knowledge. Bill Downing was a good one, and I just wanted to say that, give my heartfelt sympathy out to his family and all the friends and all the people he touched. We love you, man. We really, really do. So anyway, while we wait for Kimura to get on the show, I wanted to go over a few events that we got going on because it is summertime, and in case you haven't noticed, it is hot out there, and we have some things coming up, and not only at Nautilus Dispensary, but through the Burn and Learn Center, a lot of different things coming up for the next couple of weeks. So this Wednesday, over at Nautilus Botanicals, we have Uzma Zakir coming on, and she is going to be doing from 4 to 7 a pop up regarding Men's Health Month. So if you don't know who Uzma is a spiritual type of healer. She also puts together some custom blended tinctures and gummies and medicines that not only include CBD and the other minor cannabinoids, CBN, CBG, but she also includes other herbs and natural medicinal flowers along with it that enhance the effects. I believe she has 3 different types, and she has great gummies. She will be this Wednesday from 4 to 7 over at Nautilus Botanicals. And for those of you who don't know, that's 63 Amity Road in New Haven, right there off exit 69, 59, I'm sorry, right after the bridge or before the bridge, depending on what way you're coming. So we got that going on. If you're interested, and Uzma's got some real good stuff. Stop on down, pick up a pre-roll, hang out, and let's hear what Uzma has to say. She will give you a 15-minute consultation. So definitely worth it. Also, this Wednesday from 6 to 8 down at the Grove, we have a plant adoption event. For those of you who don't know, this is probably about the last week or so that you can put plants out while the lighting cycle is still okay. So if you have a plant, you need to replace a plant in your garden, maybe something happened to it, or if you want to just add something to your grow this year, come on down to the Grove from 6 to 8 on Wednesday night. A lot of good strains down there from both Burn and Learn and from Greenhaven Media. We got a lot of good clones down there in various stages of growth. So please come on down, check that out, hang out, and have a little safety break with me and the rest of the crew down there. So that's Wednesday night from 6 to 8 down at the Grove, and that is on Bridgeport Avenue in Milford, Connecticut. All right, and then this Friday from 5 to 10 p.m. down at the Drip House. For those of you who know where it is, you know where it is. There is a glass club, and this is something new. This is a cannabis friendly event, cannabis consumption friendly event. down at the Drip House. It is the Glass Club. So what it is a gathering of glass blowers, where there are actually going to be demos, making custom pieces for each other. It's a really cool thing. It's more like a social club, kind of for glass blowers and people who are interested in that kind of culture. I'm sure you come down, you can maybe get a custom piece made that you might have thought up in your head and designed yourself. But it's really cool. You know, a lot of people don't understand glass blowing is a real art. You know, I talk to these guys and I often wonder, like, how did they, figure out and make it go in that shape? They must have very strong lungs. But you also kind of have to be able to manipulate the fire and the glass in the right way to do that. So it's very interesting to me, and I'm very always very fascinated when I see a glass blowing demonstration. You know, just the fire in that red hot melting glass, just something about it is so cool. And then, at one point it just looks like a blob, and then all of a sudden the guy does a little work on it, and this, that, and the other thing, and here it is. It can be anything. It could be a pipe, it could be a sculpture. I saw the old back in the day when I was growing up, they used to have these Coke bottles, the glass Coke bottles, and they would melt them, the glass, and they would twist them and make them all kinds of cool things. And then you would fill them with sand or fill them with colored water. And they look very cool. And I saw one the other day, one of the glass blowers I know from the Burn and Learn Center actually made one. And it reminded me of my childhood, and some of the cool stuff we had um, back then. And you can make a pipe out of it too. So that is Friday night, this Friday, the 26th down at Drip House, or the 27th down at Drip House. And then this Saturday, of course, we got the big backyard barbecue from Burn and Learn Center and a bunch of other sponsors. That is down at the Holy Ghost Park in Shelton. For those of you who know where that is, it's a great place. Those of you who've come. It is a huge community event. Members only. If you want to learn more about it, just go to Burn and Learn CT, and you could learn more about the event. It's great times. Creamery Station is playing. They're an awesome band. I'm hosting. We're gonna have a good old time. Anybody who ever comes to these events knows that we have a blast. We just have a freaking blast. There's all kinds of events, and it's just very consumption friendly, and it just shows the unity of the community. And that's one thing I like. So we got a couple other things real quick. Kimura just joined us. I want to finish this up. On the 9th, down at Better Ways in Brantford, that is Duncan's shop, they have a spell jar workshop. That starts at 6:30. That is the 9th. That is next week. And then on the 12th, the Rolling Stoners, our good friends over there, are doing an exhibition on the 12th over there in Prospect, and that starts at 3 p.m. And for those of you who don't know, that's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is really cool. And it's very cannabis friendly, and they have CBD vendors and stuff. And they're trying to break the stigma of cannabis through Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I think it's very cool. And then the last thing I want to pitch out there is the Elevate and Thrive over at the Trinity Health Stadium. That's put together by Canna Yoga. Uzma is involved in that, and Lavender Tree Frog. So they're putting together, it is a health and wellness event. That is up in Hartford. That is the 13th from 11 o'clock to 4:20. So that's what is happening out there in the state for the next couple of weeks. And I'm sure Kimura has a couple things going on that she will tell us about. But right now, I want to bring on our very, very special guest, one of my favorite people to have on the show. But not only that, one of my favorite people just to chat with. So Kimura Lee Ellington is a mother first in all of the ways that a mother is. She is the founder and visionary of Kimura's Cultural Corner and is an active cultural humility presenter and educator who began her formal career as a teacher for the City of Hartford's early learning centers. Through the years, she has worked with numerous organizations and groups committed to marginalized communities, most recently as Director of Youth Programming and Mentoring at True Colors, Inc., where she ran a mentoring program for queer youth in and out of home care for 15 years and is a proud vocal advocate for queer youth. Kimura is a member of the National Black Justice Coalition and Leadership Advisory Council, a founding member of Connecticut Black Women, and the 2018 Advocate Magazine's Champion of Change recipient for the state of Connecticut. Her personal life mission includes creating spaces where families are free to love their children, which is guiding principle of all her work. Kimura's Culture Corner provides both a metaphoric and physical space to learn to use the gifts and privileges of our unique and shared identities, approaching cultural humility through a Black, queer, and Afrocentric perspective. We create and navigate brave spaces with the intention of building and supporting organic community connections. Kimura, how are you, my friend? You're on mute. Take it on off. Gotta hear
Hey,
your
there we
love,
go.
your
Good
voice.
morning or
How
good
are you, my
afternoon.
friend? Yeah,
I
whatever it
am
is.
well. I know folks are listening to this and folks are watching, and I am like sunburnt-ish in all the ways because we had our thinking and doing day on Saturday,
Yes, tell her I
and
want to
I
talk about that. I apologize for not being able to make it, but I blew a radiator hose. So,
that's not fun.
no, it was
Don't do
my
that.
car. You're supposed to winterize your car. I forgot you're supposed to summarize it as well.
Summarize it well.
It
Yep.
wasn't ready for the heat. But anyway, tell us a little bit about what went on over there. You just finished thinking and doing day, and you added a camp out to it.
Yeah, so that was awesome. Yeah, so June is one of our big ones. So our two big thinking and doing days, right, are June and then Kwanzaa, which happens in December, right?
Right.
But June is celebrating freedom and pride and bringing it together. Like, and when we say that we're from this like Black, queer, Afrocentric lens, that's where both of those comes together. So,
Right.
and it was hot as hell, right? So we
Oof.
had some gentle doing activities. We had, our bingo, which was a lot of fun. And bingo brings different people from different backgrounds and such together to like step into really having conversation. But we did that. Then we had dinner, and dinner was amazing. So I see you're wearing a cool T-shirt. We had
Oh
our
yes, this is this is my new what is it?
"Make America Green Again," your
Make
new idea.
America green. If you make it green, it will be great. We don't need that other guy in between. So
Yeah,
if we make America green, it will be great. And the
that
whole
works for me.
message behind that is not just growing weed and not just bringing us back to hemp, cannabis. It's got the weed leaf on it. But realistically, it's about growing everything. Growing, make it green. Growing, growing your own food, growing everything because we need to learn how to be self-sustainable now more than ever. But anyway, we're going to get
And
into
that's
that. I
and
want
that's what
to.
we did. And that's what
That
we
is,
did. And
this
that's
is,
what we
I
do, right?
know
So
that's
thinking and
why
doing
I
day.
brought you on. A
Right, so
lot of
we did.
people
So we
are.
had a big old food giveaway that happens, and then had crafts and such, and some people did some light gardening, and then we had dinner. So we sold T-shirts throughout the month of May, right? Because our idea is like we can do this with us, right? We don't need government grants to do this shit. And if you're sitting around waiting for Big Daddy to come make it all better,
Forget
then
it.
keep sitting, right? Like there's a place for that. Go sit. We will. So
You'll
dinner
sing
is
too.
paid for, right? So dinner for the June event and dinner for the December event are paid for by these T-shirts and hoodies that we sell. So sold the T-shirts, and so we had amazing Jamaican food for dinner. So this woman who lives across the street, Olivia, and I don't know if you've ever had her juice. So she has juice for
Yes, I
sale
have.
all
It's
the time.
very
If you like
good.
sorrel, get her sorrel juice. If you like, go buy her juice. But the T-shirt sales we were able to get dinner. So we had curry goat, we had jerk chicken, we had escovitch fish, we had
Mm.
fried fish, we had macaroni and cheese, we had rice and peas, we had all kinds of amazing food. And then she made breakfast for us in the morning, which was great because I'm not gonna like I love camping, and I had no desire to wake up and do breakfast. So she
No.
did all that. And so before we got to that, we watched Sinners, right? So
Mm.
have you seen Sinners yet?
I don't think I have. It's new, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You got to go check that out. Yeah, you got to go check out Sinners. But we
Okay.
had the big blow up screen for that, so we sat up and watched that and talked about it during and all. So of course, like in all the interesting ways that cannabis comes in my work there, right? And so in the cultural humility work, forever, figuring out how to unlock people's potential, right? Figuring
Hmm.
out how to get people to access themselves so that they can be great, so that all the great things that
Good
need to
point
happen can
there. Good
happen.
point. Access themselves.
right? That's
Yeah.
the work. And for years, so we will say for the entire decade of the 90s, and the entire aughts, and then the entire teens, right? So much of my work has been putting together these programs that, are kind of cool, do great things, and thinking, and I would love if I could add a cipher to this. And I would love like if everyone could just like have this conversation and then go smoke weed and then come back and have the conversation again, right? Like and that's always been fantasy because that's never been able to be infused in professional space.
Right.
And that's the thing that I do. So we had Canna K. Have you ever had Canna K on?
Oh, okay. Well, can it? Well, when she goes legit, I will. But I
Okay,
am
never mind.
very. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm very well aware. Yes, I'm
Never
very
mind.
well aware of Canna K. I love her products, and I have been encouraging her to do the LLC and do because I believe what she does there's definitely a place for it
And is
out there in the
beneficial to all of
community.
humanity, which is why
Right.
she was there on Saturday.
Right. She really has a good eye for putting together, and using different cannabinoids and what products people really need for healing. That is not available. You're never going to find a suppository at the dispensary. Infused tea. You're never going to find that stuff. And these are products that need to be out there. So I commend Canna K. I'm glad you had her there. Yes. Okay. Next.
Yeah. So yes. Um, but yeah, so we had her actually we had Kasike was out there, the movement, like our folks came and did what our folks do, and it was beautiful. So that evening we did this thing called 7 minutes of propaganda. And again, how does cannabis end up infused? We had this moment where people could just sign up or just speak, right? And so people had 7 minutes with just their voice, with the screen, with their video if they wanted. No one wanted to share a video. Folks wanted to share their voices. But an executive director from one of the organizations that I work with came and ended up pulling out a guitar and sang a song. Oh shoot! I wish I knew the name of it right now. I'm a horrible person, but it was about an indigenous man in the American prison system, right? And so sang the song and then spoke about how wonderfully, horribly our government has fucked over indigenous nations
No
and
more. You
where,
can't.
oh, I did that again, didn't I? Sorry.
It's
But
okay.
how we have interacted unfairly with. I apologize. I
It's all right.
apologize.
I
Uh,
probably slid by. Don't worry about
good, good,
it.
good. But again, it's like someone stepping out and using their voice in a different way, in a different space, in a brave way, like that they don't usually do. So that was kind of awesome.
That is, when I saw you advertising that, I was wondering what it was, and I like that concept. That's something you and I should talk about. What about doing that almost as a podcast or a radio show or something, where you can actually broadcast it out to, actually have people come up, give them 7 minutes, as long as they don't swear, right? To,
That's a
I'm
that's a good thing, but it's not the same thing.
no, of course not.
Because
When you
when
do it
we
in
add
front
the
of
energy
people,
piece, and there's because we all have to be a part of it, and the listener is just engaged and that active listening thing is happening, right? Because there's times when we listen to respond.
right?
And there's
True.
time, and that can be to agree or to disagree. And then there's times that we listen for all of the reasons. And 7 minutes of propaganda is a chance for some folks with very well developed voices to just toss it out there. And sometimes for folks with not well developed voices. And the exchange of energy with the people who are there receiving the information is just as important. So in my work, which is IDEA, right? And like we've discussed what I feel about DEI, but IDEA, identity,
Yeah,
diversity,
yeah,
equity, and
I
then
like that.
application. It is so easy to be in an echo chamber and just run your mouth and say great stuff. And if we did this as a podcast or online, it's like that's how right-wing radio became the echo chamber that it is.
Right.
And 7 minutes of propaganda and if you saw it, it was a part of the evening. So it's not like you
Ah,
come in and run your mouth and yay free speech and then run the hell out of there and don't have to
no.
deal with it. Nah, we're going to have dinner and then we're going to have 7 minutes of propaganda and you are going to say whatever the hell it is that you want to say in front of and facing the people who you're saying this to. And then we're going to hang out for a bit and, get some fires started and we got some places to go, have conversation and such. And then we're all going to watch a movie together.
Right.
So that things like this need to happen, and yes, should be
Need to happen
podcasts.
more often.
But the making it a brave space and holding people accountable in it. And accountable to ourselves. Like the person receiving the information is just as accountable. Oh, you want us to listen to your 7 minutes, but while everyone else is talking, you're walking around,
Yeah,
you're
right.
talking to
Yeah,
other
yeah, yeah,
people,
yeah.
you're being cool, you waiting for your name to be called. Well, then fuck you. Why are you here?
Ah!
So I did it again. So there's a lot of swearing that happens in my space,
I'm waiting for the text.
and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So yeah, so when we lay ground rules, there are times when yeah, sometimes the words happen in the ground rules.
Hey, you know what? If this was just straight up on the internet, I would
I
be doing
know.
it too. But
I'm sorry.
I feel privileged to be able to broadcast this stuff on the air because I think it's important that maybe the random person, out of nowhere just happens to click on it. And a lot of the stuff we discuss here, especially what I want to talk to you today about is, a lot of people, I want to make them aware of what you actually have up there. You're in the middle of Hartford, but yet you have this like oasis, and many people just call it an empty lot, but it's much more than that. You have turned it into an oasis with various different places, a safe space in a place that's not necessarily always considered safe. You have like almost created your own little world over there, and I want people to know exactly what you got going on and how it is really benefiting the community, and like you say, bringing together different aspects of the community, the afrocentric, the queer youth, and the cannabis, all together, plus your activism, what you're actually out there trying to change laws and getting young people to understand the importance of getting out there and trying to change laws. And I want people to just know really what you got going on out there. So please tell us, how you created it, what made you. I know you have a long background in community work, community activism, and you've been building this for a while. What made you, how did you get it going, and what do you need? Where do you want to see it go from here? Especially with what is going on in the world right now. I think you and our eyes are open into looking at the same window. That right now is a safe space, a place where community, where people can gather is more important than ever. That is not online. That is not monitored, right? Where people can get together, make plans, help each other, cooperate with you, because we're all going to need each other. Like you said right in the beginning, big brother, big government is not here to help us. They're here to actually, control us and make things worse. So tell us a little bit about what you got going on out there and what you kind of see for the future of Comora's Cultural Corner.
Well, there's a whole bunch of that. And I want to start with one of the first things that you first said, right? Because you said like it's like I've created my own world out there. So I want to just start with that, with like anyone who's listening to this, like do that. Just do that. So before anything else, um, listen to me talk and like critique it and do all of that good stuff, right? But if there's a world that you want to live in that's not the world that we live in right now, then
Wow.
create it
Create
and
it,
then
build
live
it,
within it,
build it.
right? And then connect with
Wow.
other people. So
Right.
as people try to figure out how to live in this world, I'm not the person to talk to about how to live in this world because
No.
why? This
Why,
world is
why, right,
disgusting.
right, right.
Um, playing by the rules that exist now does nothing for humanity, and I'm here for humanity. I know that there are people who are here to line their pockets and make a whole lot of money, and I really want them to work with each other and leave me the heck
L
alone
alone, right.
because that's not my space, right? Um, and so, what is my work? It's the work of cultural humility, where a big piece of it is get over yourself and figure out how to serve and who you're supposed to serve in what way, right?
Right, because that's our
Um,
primary purpose.
and we just had this morning. I just had some really real deep conversations with some folks. We just had Thinking Doing Day, and we get here. And what is the work of the KCC? I continue to watch people create groups of like-minded people and agree with each other and think that they've got a community and think that change can happen from that, right? Not realizing that they created a safe affinity space They created a wonderful social group. They did these wonderful things that are wonderful, need to happen within community. And a community is a pluralistic group of human beings
Right.
who are in some way dependent and codependent upon each other.
Right. Right. So,
And
right.
so my work is not trying to figure out how to get the kumbaya amen corner to get together so we can agree with each other and know that if just they would learn how to agree with us, then life would be great, right? Like, there's a wonderful place where marginalized folks, and it's beautiful, and I love holding people as they grow through all of their ways of being who they are, right? And when the boot is on your neck, of course you imagine yourself with as the one wearing the boot, and you imagine yourself with your boot on the neck of the one oppressing you, right? That is a completely appropriate and normal place to be. But if you stop there, then the cycle continues,
Right.
right?
Right. 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 People don't understand. A revolution is just one turnaround.
Yeah.
Where do you end up? The same place you started, right?
If we're because if
That's
we're
all
fighting to make
revolution
this
is, the
corrupt world, right?
definition, by definition.
If we're fighting to uphold this corrupt world, then it
Right.
doesn't matter who's in charge, right? If we're fighting to make sure that, and here we go, right, that capitalism wins, then it's not going to work, right? My world here in Hartford, there's a wonderful man named Stan McCauley, and Hartford is there's a whole lot of black and brown people in Hartford who fit all of the boxes that are seen as oppressed and that have dollar signs attached to them, right?
Right.
And so if I'm a nonprofit that wants to address hunger or housing or education or any of the ills that befall those groups of people, there's a ton of money for me in Hartford. And
Right.
there's not money in alleviating those problems, right? And there's not money in creating spaces where all of us understand that we're all being oppressed in the same ways and it just shows up in
Right.
different ways, right?
Right. There you go.
And I work with a bunch of people, and I'm working with someone who's having a really hard time because she's just a regular muggle, just a regular human being in the world, and there's a homeless person who she's trying to support. And she's realizing that there's a nonprofit that was working with her, and when they found out that she was working with another nonprofit, they stopped, right?
Really?
Because there's only so much grant money that can go around. There's so many. So going back to Stan McCauley told me years ago that we don't have to pick the cotton if we are the cotton.
Oh,
And
yes.
so a lot of what we deal with is folks figuring out how to keep the inertia of the problem going
Yes.
without thinking our way out of it and going to other places.
And like you said, it's thinking and doing. So there's action steps that have to happen, have to. And I think this is the time where we're separating, however you want to put it, the men from the, you know what I mean? Where who people are out there loving to talk and, like you say, get together in little social groups and blah blah blah. But who's actually ready to act? Who's going to be the one to start the garden, community garden, and supply the tomatoes to their community for free?
And make it work. And there, no one
It's
wants a lot of
doable.
tomatoes. Like really, no one wants a lot of tomatoes. People need
No.
tomato sauce. People need spaghetti sauce. People like stewed
Right.
tomatoes, right? But
Yes.
they, there's
Salsa.
there's a place after the initial boots on the ground nonsense. And so
Right.
that's why, like in our space, we don't grow food, right? Because it's really easy when we try to think of like, what do we need? Well, we need gardeners. That's great. Winter's coming, right? So what do we do with that? And if we're talking about self-sustainability, okay, people are only going to buy so many tomatoes. Who's got the canning spot? Who's doing
Right.
the frozen vegetable spot? Do we want self-sustainability or do we want another community garden so we can have a bunch of black people
Right.
outside
Right.
and
Right. Right.
white
Right.
people outside and take a picture and have travelers come and say, "Ooh, look, we cleaned up the community garden," and continue planting tomatoes every daggone year, knowing that I like steak.
And there's already people doing these things. It's a question of getting, instead of being the gardener, what if your community is just a place of distribution where this farmer comes to distribute it out to the community? Do you know what I mean? You don't have to be the, like you say, growing the food. The point is to get people together in cooperation. You know, this is the point, and I think and I know you can tell this is happening. In order for us to have the world that we want to see, we have to create it ourselves. And we can. It is possible. We have the resources. We have spaces like you where people can gather and plan. And how can we create our own parallel or alternative system to what is already existing? Because, like you said, the system that exists right now is based completely off fear, hatred, and negativity. And that's what it runs on. And as long as we're out there fighting to maintain this system, we are just a part of the problem. You know what I mean? And it's gotten to the point, and I'm hoping there are enough like minded people who realize it's as
And
simple.
I want to go back to that because when you're saying, Kimura wants to change laws and all that good stuff, right? Yeah, that's true.
And
And I hope that, and definitely people who are involved in the cannabis community in Connecticut see, right? Jumping and being legitimized by the man and jumping
yes,
into the man's game
never
of his laws and playing by his rules
win.
doesn't create equity and equal playing field, a place for liberation.
Right. And that's what it's
Choosing to
about.
play by his game and choosing to create groups of people who agree with each other on cannabis but hadn't done the deep work of what is their philosophy.
Right.
What are the
Right.
true underlying values of what they're trying to create here?
Right.
And in what ways do they critique the system that align? And in what ways do they critique the system that doesn't align? Right?
Right.
Because I don't put my faith in my elected officials.
No, not at all. I mean,
I put my
none.
faith I put my faith in
Zero.
the human beings who push elected officials. And I understand that elected officials serve something that's not me because they don't serve liberation, right? They
No,
can
they
serve a lot
serve
of
the
other stuff.
state.
And yeah, and so as I watch, and I've watched it happen in many, many different places, right? Like in human services and social services, we continually see groups of people and things that were charities that understood how to serve humans. Once they tried to figure out how to be more business-like so that they could be well respected in the business world, human beings again turned into cotton, turned into widgets, and they stopped being able to do
Right.
the thing.
Donors serve their
In
donors now.
cannabis, as
Same
I
thing.
watch people try to step into legitimacy, right? And rather than trying to figure out how to really own and be who they are fully and understanding the underlying values of that, and then step in as a king, but then step into working with legislators in order to affect and change the system. I'm watching people get to the place of exhaustion and choosing to, I'm
Yeah.
going to run for office. I'm going to do this. And when I'm in charge, I'll change it from the inside. No, you ain't, baby.
Now
You're
you've
not.
seen what we all seen.
You're
People
going to
who've
serve
gone
another
in.
beast and you're not different.
You go in with
That's what
great
it is.
intentions, and but if you want to stay within the system and play the game, you have to play by their rules, and their rules are corrupt, and they are not designed for us, humanity. And this, I'm hoping I see so many people who are out there, choosing a side, actually thinking that this is about Democrat or Republican or left and right or Donald Trump and this and that. It's got nothing to do with any of that. As long as there is still a system in place that is oppressive and that is, running in that duality, left versus right, then it's not for our benefit, and you're only just not only perpetuating the cycle. I believe as time goes on, and I think you could see this, that the cycle is getting almost the circle is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and the means of control are getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and to the point where if humanity doesn't wake up, and this is it right now, this is the time, then we're in for a very tumultuous time for us that a lot of people I
And that's
don't
the thing.
think are
And the
ready
next
for.
phase is coming. Like the next place is
It's
coming
coming right now,
regardless.
yes.
It's coming regardless.
Hmm. You can't stop it. It always was. It never mattered who was in charge. It's the system itself. Now, I do think there's some hope, Kimura. I really have seen hope in a lot of ways where just the general climate of people are ready to listen. I do believe they're ready to listen because it's pretty blatant out there that this left right, this whole duality thing is not working. It's just not working anymore for a lot of people. And I see it in the youth. I see the youth actually the ones starting to
Yeah.
realize, come together right now.
No, no, Thursday night, I got to go see, got to go. Yeah, Thursday night, I got to go see Obama at the Bushnell, right?
Oh, yeah, that's
And
right.
it
He was
was,
here.
oh my God, it was such neo-political, whatever. Like, there was a point, and I was sitting in a row, um, with East Indian folks on both sides of me. And there, at some point when he was saying whatever, I felt the need, like, and I'm me, right? I'm there by myself and I'm there. But I did feel the need to like lean over and say, you do know that he killed more people with drones than any other US president ever. Like
Right, right, right.
just got to make sure like as this love fest, right? Because it was this ridiculous beautiful reminiscence and like I love him as an orator. Like the man can speak. The man
Yeah,
can like
sure, but so could
capture
Reagan.
attention, right? But people are it's this love fest strange false memory of when he was in power and when he was in charge, it was beautiful and it was
Was
civil.
not.
And he like we can talk when I see you, we can talk about a way that he spoke about the Vietnam War that had my head about to explode, right? But that his administration was so wonderful and now it's awful, and if we could just go back like then maybe they have a few things to tweak, but like and I was dying, right? And
Right?
because this is Connecticut and the room drank it, right? And
Of
they were
course they
lulled and
did.
everyone
Of
felt safe
course.
and beautiful, but then we left, and when we walked outside, who was outside but all of the beautiful human beings that I love, with all of the free Palestine signs, everything explaining exactly who the sponsors are, like right then, like how the sponsors,
Right,
you're murdering
right.
people, like,
Good.
and they were there, and that was great, right? And I've been on both sides of that many times in my
Mm.
life, and there was a palpable shame. The closest I can say, like years and years and years ago, doing the same type of action, when people were like, Coca-Cola supported apartheid in South Africa. So like
Right, right.
at places where Coca-Cola was a sponsor, showing up and saying, you're supporting apartheid and the murder of black children. There were times during apartheid where you felt that the people who were coming out of the thing felt a little bit of guilt.
Hmm.
I would say that Thursday night, I felt that a little bit. And because believe me,
Wow.
there's many times when you stand in the face of great wealth and they happily look at you, they don't see you. Like they don't even
Oh,
see you,
yeah, they
right? They,
look
they
right
could care
through you.
less.
Yeah.
You're there with your signs. You spent like the last month buying your canvases, painting them, being outside, coming up with exactly what the chances are, having the right, and they don't even see you.
Right.
So that and just seeing them out there felt good.
Yeah.
But we're at a time of shift, and we've got to figure out how to do the shift appropriately so that we can grow together and get to
Yeah.
the next place and start that work.
Yeah, I think we have a blueprint left over from the 60s, where this, I actually see, there's that 50-year cycle, and here we are almost 50 years later. I see Richard Nixon, Donald Trump, very similar. All we need is that war to unify the youth, and that's right around the corner. And I think the time could be right to do it right. But what I'm seeing, and the big mistake people are making, is that they are looking for people from within the system and from within the establishment as their leaders. There's no AOC. There's
Yes.
no Bernie Sanders. None of these people are going to lead you out of this.
And that's why I
The-
started with, please look
yes,
at me being ridiculous. I've been saying for a very long time and very succinctly for the last 6 years that I was going to do this stuff, and it's here. Do it. They're not going to do it. Don't wait for
it's
them. Create
people
your
like
own
you.
utopia. Make it happen.
Martin Luther King was not a politician. Malcolm X was not a politician. Angela Davis, Abby Hoffman, Jerry Rubin. Shall we keep the list going? We're not politicians,
No.
okay?
And they steal you when they pull you into politics. When
Yes.
they see you and they tell you that you're reasonable and they tell you that they can hear you and they tell you that they are sure that your voice will make a difference and they tell you that they want you to run on their ticket. Know that you're
Run.
effective, know that you're on the cusp of your power, and know that they're about to suck it dry. Do
Right.
not be lulled. And I know like I am every parent's nightmare. Don't be lulled into success. When they tell you that we know that you'll be the next great mayor, and run away. Know
Run
that you're
away. Yeah.
close. You're close to your magic,
Yep.
but if you step into their world, it's their
Then
world.
they got you. It's their world, and I think people need to realize that you cannot look to the system to change the system. But the first thing
Why
you've got
would
to
it? That's
realize,
crazy.
I don't think people have realized yet, and this is the difference between now and the '60s, that the real quote unquote enemy is the system itself. It's not Democrats, it's not Republicans, it's not Donald Trump. It's the system itself. And that's what needs to be changed. If, I don't, if not, removed. But, but
Yeah.
the system, but so like we started this whole thing out. If the system is not going to change itself, then we create a new system. And I firmly believe we start on a small scale, like with what you're doing, with what we got going on down here. We start on a small scale of self sustaining ourselves and prove that, what is it? Proof of concept. And it's a
Yep.
lot of work, and you're going to have to find the people who are out there ready to do the work. But and this is what I want people to realize: it is now a matter of life and death. This is no more playing around. This is not more, let's get ready. Oh, let's wait for the right time. No, the right time is now. And I want people to understand that. And I know you understand that. And I know
And you've got to build, well, got to build your folks. So we had thinking
that's
during we
right.
talked about it, but like the mindfulness piece, like the whole somatic exercise piece
Yes, that's,
was, but that's from my thinking and doing, not my thinking and doing, my grandmother's hands, finding cultural humility within my grandmother's hands. So that class, the folks who presented out on Friday, that class started in August of last year, right?
right,
And we slowly, and that's class 12, without 12 white women, but 12 women going through this class slowly up until
right,
December, and then working it in some other ways. And then in June, yesterday or on Saturday, coming together and guiding the entire group through a somatic abolitionist, a mindfulness prompt that was beautiful. And it was
right.
exactly what's necessary. And now they've got that, right? And so the class starts again in August with another group of people. And the group of people who went through the first cohort, how do they, that application thing, how do they continue to build on it?
Yeah,
They then work in as mentors and check-ins for the people who are taking it going forward. So again, as we learn how to get this right, we no longer have to be the only one in our space doing it.
right,
Because again,
right.
community is all of us. So these wonderful affinity groups, if you find yourself in a space where you can't wait to get to that space to be around those people, to say, I'm so happy I'm in my community because out there with those other people who are not my community, it's horrible, then you're missing community
Yeah, you're missing what community
in
is.
that space.
Exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
so happy to be here amongst you guys because I really need you to help me deal with community because out there in the larger community, it's really hard.
Yeah, and it's important for, like you say, these small little communities to come together and create one big community because, again, there are certain things that we all have in common. One, cannabis, right? No matter what, cannabis, the plant, can unite many different types of communities if you really have the love for the plant. The other thing, music. Right, music has always been a unifying thing. You talk about the '60s, right? What was one of the things that drove that movement? Music. So what we got to do is find these unifying threads that can unify these various different communities, and focus on that, and get us together and talk, because there are a lot of people, and we just haven't met them yet, who are ready for this, who are ready for this. There are people, there are medical people, there are healers, there are spiritual people who are ready to put this together.
And
I'm
that's
one
where
of them. You're
and
one of
that's the
them.
thing that you meant that and that's the thing that folks don't see at Thinking and Doing Days. So I was talking about the executive
Yes.
director of an organization that I work with. My work is not cannabis work.
Right.
My work
That's
is
just a thread.
professional development, cultural
Yes.
humility. How do workplaces get over themselves? How do they work with difference? How does this really, really work out, right? So in bringing Thinking and Doing Days, where these wonderful organizations that say that they interact with community, and during my trainings I'm making it quite clear to them, no, you don't. So when we had our Black Art Heals tour, when we showed the documentary, when we showed the movie, I think we talked about this before, but we showed it in an X-rated movie theater.
Oh, yeah,
And right,
yeah.
because a lot of the folks who we work with, a lot of the people who hire me to come over, we realize that as an organization we need to connect with the Black trans community better. Okay, cool. We'll do our training, we'll do our professional development, and then I'll create the application that's going to force you to step in it. And then with that group, well, Kamar, we really can't come because of the. Okay, so I get you, and I completely understand that you can't come table at and sponsor an event that's at the X-rated movie theater, which is the place where the community that you say that you need to connect with
Right.
is.
Is happening.
So if you can't do that, so now as an organization, figure out what your true mission is and how you're going to serve them, or actually if you need to stop taking money from donors to serve them because you don't serve them.
Right.
And then you can pull yourself out. You can stop muddying the waters with, oh, that organization already does it, but you can make it clear that you can't do that. Right? So that's where that is. So then having when cannabis became legal in Connecticut, human service agencies, organizations have to incorporate this and can't.
Yeah,
And
they
have a
don't know
hard
how.
time because people so there's a cannabis community that understands and knows that a mom at the end of the day needing to eat a gummy and then after she puts the kids to sleep, do some bong hits is wonderful parenting and helps her be a better parent,
Yeah.
right? But that parent is dealing with social workers and school
Oh,
personnel who understand the war on drugs and
we're getting
understand.
kicked off, Kimura. My producer just gave me. I need to know how can we get in touch with you? Everything, the websites, everything, social media, real quick. I want people to support you and your
The
work.
The website is www.camorsculturalcorner.com. And Camorra's Cultural Corner, you can find me you can find me on Instagram that way, Facebook that way. You can sign up to be in my newsletter. So if you go to the website, go to contact me, put yourself in there if you want to get in touch, and we'll be connected.
All right, Kimura, thank you. It's always a pleasure having you on. I want to make sure that people understand. Go up, visit Kimura. She has a great space up there in Hartford. Thank you for everything you do. We love you, and I want to, we want to get together and connect more often this summer. Thank you so much. You can follow me at Greenhaven Media, at Joe the Wee Guy. We'll see you all next week. Enjoy your week. We love you, Kimura.
Take care, Joe. Peace.
All right, peace.